All right, I want to talk a little bit about dreams today. There's Coach. So I've struggled really bad with just in the past couple years. I would say my dreams. I used to have a lot of them when I was a kid. Very vivid, even recurring dreams that I felt like taught me something, and despite the fact that the imagery was visceral and real, and like for instance, the reason I had a conversation with my some of my friends that I played D&D with about dreams, because one of them has really prolific and expansive dreams virtually every night. He remembers them often. And I was kind of trying to tap into that, I guess, just because I've had this weird relationship with dreams recently. I want to say a couple years ago, felt like I encountered something in a dream that was not of my own creation, but something. An entity that was neither malicious, was neither or benevolent, but it almost had like it had a message for me. And I couldn't really handle the message. I like woke up screaming around like 3 a.m. Because it showed me the message in the dream, and I couldn't wake up. And I wasn't scared because of the message. I was scared because it was like I was sitting there looking at, my stomach's going crazy. Oh my God. I ate earlier too. I don't know what's up. I should explain the dream a little bit. And this is different too because, like I was talking about this with my friends. You can just have a dream that's just like imagery, things that are coming up, you dealing with emotions or past or future situations, things that come up you can learn from. Like, for instance, I wrote this down because the 1111 portal brought back my dreams in a really easy and simple way. I set the intention and sort of broke myself open. It's been years since I had a coherent dream that I had something to learn from. I dreamt about saying rude things to someone, and then I dreamt that I was saying them. I remember these are things that I've been saying in my real life, in my mind, but not to this person. And I dreamt that I was saying them, and I looked down and I was missing a part of my left leg. And so it's kind of like this thing I'm feeling internally towards this person is an easy access point for me to, in my conscious mind, for me to throw myself off of my spiritual path too. And just what is right to, and just, not in just what's, right for my soul and my body, and not, holding hate in my heart and that kind of thing. And I sort of visualize this as like a way for wind to blow out my flame. I mean, when I think about the inner flame and when I consider wind in relation to that and how those energies move within me, wind is like, pride or ego. It's the things that I think about myself that I have to defend, even if they may not be essentially me. It can be a lot of things, but in this sense, I it's almost like the fact that I would get around this person and say these things internally instead of expressing them outwardly, or instead of just not feeling those things at all, and instead having a different, more loving, kind perspective. And I had reasons for feeling that way, valid reasons, right? For instance, like standing up for myself, feeling, not wanting to feel bullied, boundaries. And that those things are okay, those things are right to stand up for yourself, but that it is important the way that you do it. Because the way that you do it defines you. Not actually the things that you may think you're defending. Like, those things will define you. It's the effect that we have on the world. And our thoughts, and that's the thing, that's one of the things I'm realizing through this practice, is that my thoughts do affect reality. They affect my reality at the very least. So I got to be thinking the right way about people, Because then it's reflective of how I'm thinking about myself, and but yeah, this is a dream I had just a couple days ago about my roommate. And I woke up from it and I'm feeling like, wow, there's something I can learn from that. Oh my God. And I was like, okay, it's been a long time since I had a dream like that. Because I had a dream that felt a little unreal. That sort of, and I think the reason I haven't been really dreaming, and having dreams like that, is because I've been subconsciously putting that off and maybe even smoking weed before I go to sleep every night to make sure I don't dream. And what sort of broke me open to be able to have this again was simply talking about this dream where I felt like something was trying to send me a message. Just talking about it candidly with my friends and them talking to me about their experience. Not invalidating or validating my experience, just hearing me, seeing me, and understanding that, like, regardless of the actual evidential truth of whether or not there was a being sending me a message that scared me really bad, my relationship to it is such that that's what it was, right? And like that's a part of the curriculum, me seeing it that way. And then I couldn't reach that. What I just said, I couldn't reach that point. I couldn't close that circuit in my head without actively discussing it with my friends. And then when I closed that circuit, I started dreaming again. And I'm not afraid. Even if that thing does show up, which frankly, I think now that my dreams are back, it probably will. But maybe now I'm actually ready for the message, so to speak. And that's when I go. This is why I want to explain the actual dream. Is like I was sitting in a car, driving, with some friends of mine, and I remember they were distinct people that I knew. Like they had faces and everything, and I remember interacting with them, and that's kind of the moment where I knew that this dream was different than the ones you have where it's just imagery trying to teach you something, like how I had with my friend. Or, like the dream where I was missing part of my leg. It was very clear. It was almost like a vision as opposed to a dream. And we're driving along the car. Everything's normal. And then all of a sudden the car lifts up into the air. And everything changes. It's flying through the air and we don't feel the gravity, the weight of it. It's not alarming. It's just, that dream movement. And then it lands. The car lands near this building. That's not quite a building. It looks like it's made of concrete, but it's a little strange. It doesn't look like it was constructed. It's hard to explain. And then the people I'm with instantly get out of the car and walk in. They're eager. But I'm worrisome. I sense something. I see something in the doorway. Because there's no door. There's just an open space that leads into sort of darkness. But I know that when I go in there, I'll be able to see. It's just like the veil over this doorway. And I'm nervous. And it's like something within the building began speaking to me. And this is when I felt like, whoa. This is not a voice that's coming from me, right? Because, like, I could be having an argument with somebody in my dream, but I know I can tell that this is an image I'm creating. Or at the very least, like, it's this kind of thing where, once you realize you're dreaming, but you can tell, like, you can tell when it's just images, and this was something, like I was being shown something. Like, my mind had crystallized this image into something for a specific reason. And that space created in my mind, it felt like it created enough space for something that was trying to talk to me to actually send me a message. And it basically told me it wasn't going to hurt me. It told me I didn't need to be scared. Uh, it wasn't like I care about you, I love you, but it was like you don't need to be scared. Like stop. And so I was like, okay. And then I walked in, and as I went in there, the people who I came with were gone, and there was a being there, and it looked kind of like, and this, I liken it to this because it's easiest to do the imagery, but it wasn't quite this. It was kind of like the engineer from that Alien movie, with like the large silvery body and black eyes, but it didn't have muscles like this thing. It almost had this like liquid mercury body and these black pupilless eyes, and it didn't have a mouth. It didn't really have features. It's just the eyes. And as soon as I looked at it, I wasn't scared, but I knew, I was like, I've never, really, like, what the fuck? This, something's weird about this. And even just the fact that I could even comprehend it in that way, in the dream, knowing that I was dreaming. Because I've dreamt before, where I've like sort of taken control of the dream, or even continued on in the dream, knowing I was dreaming, just letting stories play out. But this was like something I couldn't look away from. And that's when this feeling began to build. Like I needed to stay when I really saw this thing, because I was like, whoa. I've never seen anything like this in my own mind. And then I just got this distinct feeling that it wanted me to understand that it didn't really care for me, nor did it have any ill will to me. It just came to deliver a message. And as I realized it was time for the message to be delivered, I looked down towards the ground, and this black sort of console rises up out of the ground with like a black screen on it. And I'm looking down at it, and on the screen it's a black background, and what appeared on it was like a red glowing outline of some sort of mix between a bear and a wolf's face. And as I'm sitting there looking at it, I cannot look away. I cannot look back at the creature. I cannot look around the room. I can only sit here and look at this. And it doesn't scare me at first. Like, the imagery doesn't instantly scare me. I don't understand it, that's like a little alarming. It was a little alarming that I didn't understand it, but I was sitting there looking at it and I couldn't look away. And then I realized that, and then I had this distinct feeling like I'm in my body trying to wake up. And I can feel myself in my body, but my vision is still in the dream. And my body won't move, and I can't look away. And there's this moment, this happened instantly, where there's this realization that I'm still in my body, but my mind is still in the dream. And I'm just looking, and I start screaming because I can't wake up. I can't get out of the dream. It's like I was like in between worlds. And I'm screaming. I start screaming in real life, and I'm sleeping next to my partner at the time. And I'm like screaming and like holding on to her, trying to wake up, and she has to like, I didn't really fully wake up until she like, shook me. I was like, yo, what? And I was not okay afterward. Maybe within like a couple hours I didn't go back to sleep or anything. But within a couple hours I was like, okay. Let's forget about that. Yeah. And I never really, I told my mom about it, because I tell my mom most things. I may have told a handful of other people, but I really talked about it openly with my close friends and who have dreams often. And I don't feel any differently about the dream. However, I'm dreaming again. And I'm telling you right now, I was not dreaming and smoking weed every night before I went to sleep, out of fear for encountering this thing again. And I have not had dreams for a while. And then I talked to my friends about it, and the dreams come back, and they're normal, and I'm fine. And honestly, like, I think part of it is like I approached a point where I could perhaps handle the message if it were to come again, like in my spiritual journey. But also, I talked to my homeboys about it. I made it real. It wasn't just in my head anymore. And that's kind of the thing I'm realizing is like, that's why me making these videos is so important. Because there is a reason and a structure and a vision that I have about what could potentially happen, what could come from me just expressing myself openly and bearing my heart to the world every day. You know? Because I feel like, I've contacted something special, not the dream, but I feel so strongly that we can heal the world by giving each other enough grace to make mistakes in the process of becoming, and to really, if we can really come to terms with the fact that every day is a new opportunity to rewrite who you are and what that actually means. Because that, I think people understand that, but I don't know why this is coming to my mind right now, but fucking somebody said, I think it was Timothy Chalamet, said something about like our purpose is to procreate. And I just thought that was so fucking goofy. Saying humanity's purpose is to procreate is the same thing as saying like UFC. The purpose of the UFC is to showcase kickboxing. Right? Like, all due respect to kickboxing, like procreation and making a child is a sacred and beautiful act. It ain't for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. But that is just one function of our ability, which is creation. And we all have this natural source of creative energy within us, that flame. And, if we can contact that and nurture it and find a way to turn everything into fuel, then who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows what can happen? But I'm going to keep paying attention to my dreams. I'm going to keep really focusing in my intention on having them and learning from them. Because to be honest with you, I've completely changed the way I'm thinking about this person now since having it. And that's what's important, right? That's what's important about this journey. As long as it puts me in a place of more love, more happiness, more channeling God, then it's worthwhile. Then it's worthwhile, Moni. Anyways, I love you. Talk to you later.